যে আনিল প্রেম ধন করুণা প্রচুর যে আনিল প্রেম ধন করুণা প্রচুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর কাহা মোর স্বরূপ রূপা কাহা সনাতন কাহা মোর স্বরূপ রূপা কাহা সনাতন কাহা দাস রঘুনাথ পতিত পাবন দাস রঘুনাথ পতিত পাবন কাহা মোর ভট্ট যুগ কাহা কবিরাজ কাহা মোর ভট্ট যুগ কাহা কবিরাজ এক কালে কোথা গেলা গোরা নটরাজ এক কালে কোথা গেলা গোরা নটরাজ পাষাণে কুটিব মাথা অনলে পশিব পাষাণে কুটিব মাথা অনলে পশিব निधि कथा गेले पाव गौरांग गुणेर निधि कथा गेले पाव सब संगीर संगे जे कोइल बिलास से सब संगीर संगे जे कोइल बिलास से संग न पाया कांदे नरोत्तम दास से संग न पाया कांदे नरोत्तम दास जे अनिल प्रेम धना करुणा प्रचुर जे अनिल प्रेम धना करुणा प्रचुर जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय रामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय श्री ईश्वरपुरी तिरुभाव महामहोत्सव की जय all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakara Mahyam Darati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagna Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nitinamine Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, we sung that song today in observance of the disappearance, the auspicious disappearance of Srila Ishwara Puri, the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the initiating guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, who is considered to be the seed of the tree of love of God, which grew in this world and spread all over the entire universe. And Ishwara Puri, being his disciple, is considered to be the creeper, or like the sprout of that tree. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being the trunk, and then growing into branches like that. So he's a very important acharya, and specifically in our parampara, being the foundation of the teachings of pure devotional service. He was one of the most prominent disciples of Srila Madhavendra Puripad, others being Advaita Acharya, and Nityananda Prabhu, just to name a few. But Ishwara Puri was among his most prominent disciples. Before actually meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, he heard of his glories. He heard of the glories of Nimai Pandit, his glories were spreading all over the Gauda Mandal. So Ishwara Puripad he appeared in, forget exactly what it's called, Kumarahata or something like that. What is it? Kumarahata. And but he was a sannyasi, so he would travel all over. He would go to all the different holy places. He made many disciples. He preached the teachings of Shuddha Bhakti all throughout Bharatavarsha, or the land of India. And in this way, he was also a very esteemed spiritual master, very famous. He had a good name for himself. And so at one time he visited, this is, different people have different opinions, but when we were recently visiting Ekachakra Dham in Bengal, there is a place at the Janmastan of Nityananda Prabhu called Sannyas Tali. Do you remember what it's called? Sannyas Tali. It has like 3 different names. Sannyas Tali, Malas Tali, and something, Shayana Tali or something like that. Nityananda Prabhu would sometimes sleep under this tree. He also would garland this tree with his own remnants. And also it's called Sannyas Tali because that is the place where an unknown sannyasi came to the place of Nityananda Prabhu and requested Hadai Pandit to give his son in charity as an assistant, a brahmachari assistant. So in Prabhupada's books it's called unknown sannyasi, and the Chaitanya Bhagavat is also described as an unknown sannyasi. Our godbrother Nitai Parakamala Prabhu said that there is sufficient evidence in other places that would allude to the fact that this sannyasi was Ishwara Puri, which is very interesting. Others say that it was Vishwarupa is also there, and also Tirtha, Lakshmana Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Lakshman Tirtha or something like that, who is supposed to be the sannyas guru of Nityananda Prabhu, which is not accepted by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, saying because later on Nityananda Prabhu got married and everything like that. So he says that Sahajiyas claim that Nityananda Prabhu was a sannyasi, and then he went and had family life, so why can't we also do like that? So for that reason, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that he was never a sannyasi. He was an avadut, he was a paramahamsa. So he was, at this time of being a brahmachari assistant of Ishwara Puripad, he carried a danda and a kamandalu, which are the paraphernalia of a sannyasi, but also the paraphernalia of a brahmachari. So this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says about this matter. And in this way, he traveled all around the country of India. He resided in Mathura for some time with Nityananda Prabhu, presumably. And it was there that he actually heard the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He later visited Navadvip Dham, where he came in disguise, because he was very humble. He didn't want to make a big scene. And but he was identified by great devotees like Advaita Acharya, Mukunda Datta was another one of them. Mukunda Datta actually started reciting verses from the Bhagavatam, and then upon hearing them, he couldn't hold back his ecstasy, which revealed him as being a great Paramahamsa Vaishnava. So in this way, he became associated with the residents of Navadvip Dham, And during that time, he also came across Nimai Pandit, who was exhibiting the pastimes of being a learned scholar, kind of an arrogant, puffed up like kind of personality. But also, he was very respectful to the Vaishnavas. He was always very respectful to Advaita Acharya, to Srivas Pandit, and like that. And it was at that time when Gadadhar Pandit became a very humble servant of Ishwara Puri. He would hear Bhagavatam from him, like that. But all the while, Ishwara Puri, after seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time, he was always thinking about him. He thought this boy looks like such a great personality. His effulgence, the different markings on his body, all of the symptoms of a great soul were present in Nimai Pandit. And so Ishwara Puri he had the desire to have the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was later fulfilled whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Gaya in the present day state of Bihar, under the pretense of offering pinda for his departed father and other ancestors. So going to different holy shrines in Gaya, he met Ishwara Puri at the temple of Vishnupad, the temple of the lotus feet of Vishnu, which is still there today. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta personally installed the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that temple. It's one of the 108 places which he desired to have, but he personally did that one. And also, we were hearing recently that the family of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is responsible for building the stairs leading to that temple. We haven't been, but there's supposed to be big stone, a big project that the ancestor of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur built. Anyways, this is where Nimai Pandit ultimately met Ishwara Puri, and in a fit of ecstasy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing upon having darshan of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, he was awakened by Ishwara Puri. And then upon awakening, they embraced each other, and it's said that their entire bodies were completely drenched with each other's tears. So this meeting of two great personalities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his very dear devotee, marks a very monumental occasion in our parampara, because this is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu formally took initiation from Ishwara Puri and formally inaugurated the pastime of spreading love of God all throughout the world. Before then, he was holding back that feature of himself. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to Navadvip, started preaching, started going here and there. But by the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and started traveling in South India, eventually ended up in Jagannath Puri, Ishwara Puri had departed from this world, but he had sent his disciples Govinda and Kashishwara Brahmachari to go and serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. So these are like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servants. He didn't want to accept service from his own godbrothers, but having a direct order from their spiritual master, his own godbrothers were acting as his servants, his personal servants, Govinda and Kashishwara. So for this reason, Ishwara Puri is most glorious. There's so many other things which can be spoken about him. There's many things written about him in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat. He also composed the Krishna Lilamrita, I think is what it's called. So there's many ways that we can remember Ishwara Puri on this auspicious day. Apart from actually going to these places, it's important to hear about them and remember them. So, without further ado, we'll go on to the Bhagavatam, unless anybody has any questions regarding Ishwara Puri. Yes, bro.
So, you said Ishwara Puri is considered the creeper of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. But it seems that if Madhavendra Puri Pad is the seed, then Ishwara Puri Pad and his godbrothers are the roots of the tree.
Be the roots.
Right?
I was reading this section on Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's not very vividly described, saying that Madhavendra Puri is from where the sprouting of this tree came from, the seed. In other words, the seed. I don't know
because it makes sense. If Madhavendra Puri Pad is the seed, then his disciples are the roots. And
that would make sense to me.
And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the trunk.
That would make sense to me. The understanding that I have is that Madhavendra Puri, being distinct from the Madhva Sampradaya that he was coming from, is considered to be the appearance, the first manifestation of this, which was unseen at that time.
Yeah.
And then it was later become seen by his disciple Ishwara Puri. He had many other disciples which might have remained as roots, but Ishwara Puri was that one who presented it to the world and was preaching it widely.
I mean, Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu also.
That's also
they're also there.
But Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya Advaita Acharya was an exception, but specifically Nityananda Prabhu did not preach the cult of bhakti until after Lord Chaitanya actually started preaching, out of respect for giving him the credit for starting the movement and everything.
Yeah, it says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that, when Lord Chaitanya appeared in Nadia, then Nityananda Prabhu roared loudly, and then that roar was heard all over the three worlds. Very ecstatic.
Yeah, this analogy of the tree, you can really go into it.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Ishwara Puri was that first manifestation which was visible from the outside world, and then that visible manifestation grew into Chaitanya, who became the trunk and became the found. Of course, the roots are the foundation, but from the trunk is where the branches actually start to come out.
Another way I've heard this analogy described is that even in the roots, there's like the main thing of the root, and then the roots also branch out. So Ishwara Puri Pad could also be considered like that main thing of the root. I don't know the technical word for it. So anyway,
definitely.
I was thinking that, and it's interesting that you're saying that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family is the one who built the stairs for the Vishnupada temple. But from what I've heard from Guru Maharaj and all, and other devotees, is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family is in the family of Shaktas. Guru Maharaj gave that lecture on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day. We were distributing books in Heroes Khan in North Carolina. So, how, there were Shaktas, but they still built this. Is that bona fide, like the source where you got that from?
We were hearing this from the devotee at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center in Kolkata. Right? That's where we were hearing that. Anyways, I don't know the details of that, but that's what that devotee was saying.
I did hear once that they became Shaktas, So anyway.
Yeah, of course.
So
and
that's a possibility.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said, I think you were saying that he was coming from Chitragupta.
Yeah.
You were saying that?
I was saying that yesterday.
Originally Vaishnavas might have, different parts of his family might have strayed off a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Chitragupta, the scribe of Yamaraj. That's where the Kayasthas are.
Yeah, the family, the Kayasthas, they appeared in the Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared in the family of Kayasthas. Chitragupta. And, this other thing also is that Ishwara Puri Pad actually did something very revolutionary by sending Govinda to serve Lord Chaitanya. Because if you read the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita over there, it said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was about to accept Govinda as a servant, reluctantly, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was putting forward the question, how is it that Govinda, although he's a Shudra, how is he serving a Brahmana? So there's a whole section describing, it's transcendental, you can serve and that whole thing. And one, thing about Madhavendra Puri and Sri Ranga. So Ishwara Puri had another god brother called Sri Ranga Puri. And he is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, they met in Pandharpur, And when Lord Chaitanya was just taking prasadam somewhere, and then he found out that his Guru Maharaj's god brother was also there. So he went to see him, and over there, when the minute he met him, he was exhibiting so many ecstatic symptoms. And Sri Rangapuri Pad said that you must be related to my Guru Maharaj. Otherwise, no one in the world could manifest this. You must be related. Must be coming from Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri's line. So then he introduced himself. Yes, I'm a disciple of Ishwara Puripad. And then Sri Rangapuri says this amazing thing that once he was traveling, preaching along with Madhavendra Puri, along with his Guru Maharaj, Madhavendra Puri, and then they stopped by a particular house in Nabadvip where there was a very amazing Brahmana whose name was Jagannath Mishra. And then they had and his wife, Sachi Mata, was the most chaste mother of the whole world. He called her the Jagan Mata. And he said that this Sachi Mata, no one can cook like her. And he still remembered the preparation that she made from banana flowers. And he said that Sri Chaitanya and then he said, it seems like it was a time that Mahaprabhu didn't appear yet. He said that they had a son, his name was Vishwarup. And then Vishwarup took sannyas and became Shankararanya, and he left this world in Pandharpur, where we are right now. So he explained all this to Lord Chaitanya. It's amazing actually that the parampara already visited Lord Chaitanya's home, and that he became Shankararanya, and Lord Chaitanya left to go on preaching on a pretext of looking for his sannyasi brother, but then he got that information. So anyway, I just thought it's an interesting thing in regards to this.
Sorry.
Prabhu, I don't remember this story too well. If you know what I'm talking about, maybe you could say it. But we were talking about we were on the train. I think this is before we went to Madhavendra Puri's samadhi, and they were speaking about how Madhavendra Puri was about to unmanifest his pastimes, and he was manifesting like ecstatic symptoms or something like this. And one of his disciples said something like,
Ramachandra Puri.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly.
So he was chanting this shloka, this famous shloka. You know the shloka?
I don't.
He was chanting that, Aho Bhakya. I think that's the verse. He's chanting thinking how merciful is Krishna, and he was lamenting how did I not get the mercy of Krishna, Yeah. And then Ramachandra Puri, who is like that figure described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can.
What, do you want me to tell
Yeah,
Ramachandra?
yeah, that's
So Ramachandra Puri was the one who would come and serve prasad to all the Vaishnavas, and then he would give them more and more and more, and then he would then start speaking about them, saying that, they eat so much, and then he would find ants going to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house, and then say, they must be hiding sweets there, and like that, he was just causing
But
problems.
what he did was that he actually, when Madhavendra Puri was in ecstasy, glorifying, ecstasy, like, exhibiting Vipralamba Bhav for the first time. That time, this person, Ramachandra Puri, he went up to his own Guru Maharaj, who was exhibiting love for Krishna. He said, why are you lamenting at the time of death? Better you focus on impersonal Brahman. Instructing his Guru, and to make it worse, to meditate on impersonal Brahman. So then, he was, Madhavendra Puri was very upset. Get out of here! I do not want to have anything to do with you. Just leave from here. Just leave from here. Do not want to have anything to do with you. So then, he was rejected, banished, and then, he just basically later on became a Mayavadi.
Yeah, and obviously a great offender.
Great offender to the
devotees.
Vaishnavas, and so that's.
Yeah. And somehow Matysa-Prabhu connected Ishwara Puri with it. I don't know how somewhere along the lines and you can see two sides of one disciple who really displeased the spiritual master, and then Ishwara Puri who pleased Madhavendra Puri.
So in that regard, so then at that point of time, Madhavendra Puri, when he rejected Ramachandra Puri, right?
Puri.
He rejected Ramachandra Puri. Then Ishwara Puri was being his menial servant. Being his menial servant,
and everything.
And he was changing his, just cleaning up after him. He exhibited the pastime, Madhavendra Puri exhibited the pastime of being he couldn't move or whatever. So he exhibited that pastime, and then Ishwara Puri was doing all this menial service for him, like cleaning up his stool, changing this, changing that. He said, "My dear child, because you have served me so well, I wish to give you an amazing benediction." And I'm forgetting what the exact benediction was, somewhere along the lines that you will attain love of God or something like this. And Prabhupada writes in that regard, if I remember correctly in the purport, that because of doing this, he was blessed with the benediction of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his servant, as his disciple.
Wow.
Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya. It's so amazing, actually. And he was also saying in this regard that Ishwara Puri, can you imagine? Okay, so look, so who's the best cook in the whole world? That's there. Well, who is the best cook in the whole world?
Right now?
That's right. Srimati Radharani is the best cook in the whole world, right? But can you imagine Radha and Krishna together cooking for someone? Ishwara Puri was the only person in the whole, in the recorded history, who actually got to taste what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made. Lord Chaitanya cooked for Ishwara Puri. Can you imagine? He cooked for his spiritual. As Radha and Krishna, how would that even, can we imagine, how that would taste, what it would be? Inconceivable, actually. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cooked for his spiritual master. And, in Komara Hatta, he went to the birthplace of his, appearance place of his spiritual master. And he took that. You went there?
We didn't go there, but Devarata Prabhu was telling that this is the example that he set, that a disciple should go and take the earth from the place that his spiritual master appeared at, and there's a big lake there. It's said that all the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited there one day, and they all collected some earth, and then they tied it in their top cloth like that, and then because there were so many millions and millions of followers, it became a big lake. So today now there's a kunda there, but yeah.
Yes, I guess we got to go to Belfast Island.
Yeah. We gotta figure out exactly where it's.
We got to figure out where exactly, and we got to go to Belfast Island.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else about this?
Eat it before book distribution, before the marathon.
It's really a super twisted and mundane reflection of that. But I used to play baseball pretty competitively. We would travel all over, pretty good, and we had our home field and everything like that, where we would practice and everything. And every time we would go travel, we would bring some of the dirt from our field and we would sprinkle it in the dirt in the other field that we were playing.
Wow.
It's just some
cannot escape.
Stupid.
Cannot escape.
Stupid.
Either worship Ishwara Puri Pad's place or worship your baseball field.
Yeah.
Choice is yours.
Like cows, camels, and asses or whatever. Okay. Anything else? Ishwara Puri? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10. The Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text number 21. Yada Atmani Niralokam Atmanam Cha Didrikshataha Nirbhinne Hi Akshini Tasya Jyoti Chakshuhu Gunagraha Yadatmani niralokam Yadatmani niralokam Atmanam chadidrikshataha Atmanam chadidrikshataha Nirbhinne hyakshini tasya Nirbhinne hyakshini tasya Jyotish chakshur gunagraha Jyotish chakshur gunagraha Yadatmani niralokam Atmanam chadidrikshataha Nirbhinne hyakshini tasya Jyotish chakshur gunagraha Yadatmani niralokam Atmanam chadidrikshataha Nirbhinne hyakshini tasya ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणग्रहः
यदात्मनि निरालोकम्
यदात्मनि निरालोकम्
आत्मानं च दिदीक्षतः निर्भिन्ने ह्यक्षिणी तस्य ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणग्रहः
यदात्मनि निरालोकम्
यदात्मनि निरालोकम्
आत्मानं च दिदीक्षतः निर्भिन्ने यक्षिणी तस्य ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणाग्रहः
गुणाग्रगः यदात्मनि निरालोकम् आत्मानं च दिदृक्षतः निर्भिन्ने ह्यक्षिणी तस्य निरालोकम् आत्मानं च दिदृक्षतः निर्भिन्ने ह्यक्षिणी तस्य ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणग्रहः Mataji. Yadatmani niralokam atmanam cha didrikshataha
निर्भिन्ने
yakshini tasya ज्योतिश्चक्षुर्गुणग्रहः यदात्मनि निरालोकम् आत्मानं च दिदृक्षतः यक्षिणी तस्य चक्षुर्गुणग्रहः यदा while Atmani unto himself Niralokam without any light Atmanam his own transcendental body Cha also other bodily forms Didrikshata desired to look upon Nirbhinne due to being sprouted He for Akshini of the eyes Tasya of him Jyotihi the sun Chakshuhu the eyes Gunagraha the power of seeing Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus when everything existed in darkness the Lord desired to see Himself in all that was created. Then the eyes, the illuminating God, Sun, the illuminating God's Sun, the power of vision, and the object of sight all became manifested. Purport. The universe is by nature dense darkness, and therefore the total creation is called tamas, or darkness. The night is the real feature of the universe, for then one cannot see anything, including oneself. The Lord, out of His causeless mercy, first desired to see Himself, and all the creation as well. And thus the sun became manifested. The power of vision for all living entities became possible, and the objects of vision were also manifested. This means that the whole phenomenal world became visible after the creation of the sun. So I already chanted Mangalacharan and everything. So in this part of the Bhagavatam, we're hearing a very brief description of how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is manifesting this cosmic world that we're living in, this material world. Starts with, what, speaking? What was it?
Tongue, yeah.
Tasting.
Tongue.
Hunger and thirst. And then we hear about speaking, power of speech. Here, what was yesterday? Speaking?
Yesterday was breathing.
Yeah, smelling. And then today, of seeing. And then next we'll have the power of hearing. So it's actually going from more gross to more subtle. In this section, we're more or less hearing a description of how the different varieties of this material world are becoming manifest. And without these varieties, even having the Mahat Tattva and all of the combined material energy and everything in this material world, it's all useless because there are no objects of the senses, there are no senses, there is really nothing without all of these different things. And specifically, without the power of sight and without light to see and without things in which to see, there really is no purpose of this material world. And so in this way, we're hearing about the variety of this material world, and this variety is expressed in duality. And this kind of forms the basis to many different philosophies, both theistic and atheistic, of the dualities of this material world. And even Krishna talks about this a lot in the Bhagavad Gita, transcending duality, understanding the difference between matter, spirit, like this. And in a completely mundane sense, there are so many dualities which are present in this world. We start out with, what was it? Tasting? Hunger and thirst. The duality of being hungry and not being hungry, being thirsty and not being thirsty. The dualities of taste, which exist in things which might taste very nice, things which might taste very bad, things which are pungent, things which are sweet, etc. Smelling things which are very bad, smelling things which are very good. And of course, seeing. And this is a very easy thing to understand with seeing because you have light and darkness. And there's kind of a what do they call that? A spectrum of light, but there's not really so much of a spectrum of darkness. And in this way, you can very clearly see the difference between the two. Spectrum of darkness means just how much light is actually there, dissipating the darkness. Spectrum of light exists in so many different varieties of color and everything like that, but darkness is just straight up black. It's straight up like nothingness. And for this reason, it is called tamas, or darkness, or ignorance is another word, is another meaning for tamas. So this duality of light and darkness is prevalent in so many different philosophies, like I was saying, and even in like modern pop culture and everything. Every single movie or every single novel or something like that, you have the struggle between good and evil, which are represented with light and dark, and you have the dark side, and like in Star Wars and everything like that. And this is kind of a common. These are common archetypes which are extant in human society, not even human society, and even in the animal world, there's like poisonous animals which look very dark and scary, and then there's like very cute animals which are not so harmful. Of course, sometimes the harmful animals are also very beautiful, but there's some instinctive, there's some instinct there to see what is good and what is bad just from our vision, and that is kind of manifest in. Generally we're thinking that something which is light, something which is colorful, that is very nice to see. And something which is dark and gloomy, this isn't very nice to see. So in this way, there's different preferences that the conditioned soul has and how they want to enjoy their senses. And specifically with their eyes, the objects of the objects of their vision, they tend to be drawn towards a certain type of thing. So for a male in the human form of life, they're very attracted to the beauty which is exhibited by a female person in the human form of life. And then among the female people, there's a certain type which they're very attracted to. Maybe they have blonde hair, or maybe they're very tall, or and very skinny, except somebody else might like somebody with dark hair, or very fat, or something like that. And of course, in animalistic species of life, what they find attractive to the vision is completely different than what we might find attractive. Like how a hog might find very attractive a place where they might want to live in a place which is very dark and muddy and smelly and nasty, whereas we might like some kind of situation where there's plenty of sunlight and the walls are painted in light tones and everything like that. And you see that persons more in animalistic consciousness are drawn more towards these tamasic preferences of their sense gratification. You go to the room, their curtains are completely closed, they wear dark clothing, they're more attracted to this like darkness than they are the light. So in this way, there's so many different living entities are enjoying their senses in so many different ways. Just recently I kind of had a refresher. I picked up the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam and started reading the allegorical story of King Paranjana, which was spoken to Prachini Barhishat, a great materialistic king. who was, actually very interesting. One point that stuck out to me is that Prachini Barhishat was a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj, who is a disciple of Narada Muni. And because of his bodily relationship to Dhruva Maharaj, Narada Muni felt great compassion for him. Seeing him being in such a materialistic state, he felt compassion, wanted to preach to him how to become detached from this. So he gave him this allegorical story of King Puranjana, which is a make-believe character, but we can understand that Narada Muni was hinting to the fact that he was actually talking about Barhishman, King Barhishman. And so in this allegory, we are given a city with 9 gates, and within this city there are beautiful lakes and flowers and trees and birds, and his wife is very beautiful there, and his wife has 10 servants, and each of those servants have many wives like that. And these are all allegories. His wife is actually his intelligence. The wife's servants are the different knowledge-acquiring senses, and then all of the different servants of those servants, or the wives of those servants, are the different objects of those senses. But specifically, talking about the working senses, the knowledge gathering senses, like the eyes, those are described as being the 9 gates of the city, or actually the 9 holes where one can enter the body. So there's 9 holes of the body. 5 are to be considered on the eastern side, which is the face. So you have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, and these are on the eastern side of the city. The ears are on the north and the south side, or the south and the north side, and then the anus and the genitals are on the western side. And this is the 9 holes of the body, the 9 gates of the city is the allegory. And so the eyes have 2 different gates of the city, but they're right beside each other. They're related. And whenever the king decides to go out of these gates, he is accompanied by his friend. Forget what his friend's name is called, but his friend's name is Light, because without light, he can't actually use these senses. His consciousness cannot actually be manifest from these gates of the city. So that light is there. And of course, Prabhupada writes extensively how the vision is dependent upon the light, which is coming from the sun, which is coming from Krishna. Ultimately, it's all coming from Krishna. But what the most important lesson that I actually learned from this whole story of King Puranjana is whenever King Puranjana decided to leave his city and go out to hunt. And it's not said which gate he left from the city, but the idea is that he left the city in order to go and enjoy his senses. This act of hunting is actually going out and sinfully enjoying his senses. And during this time, he left his very chaste wife. It was very beautiful, very chaste. She had so many good qualities. He left her behind without even telling her where he was going to go, and he just went out there to enjoy. And then upon coming back, she was all shriveled up. She was like completely she was like almost dying out of separation from her husband. She was so sad that he left. She was so, she was completely devastated. And then finally when he came back, he said, "I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again." And this is an allegory of actually, so remember the wife is the intelligence, and King Puranjana, being the living entity within the city of the body, he sometimes decides to go out of these gates of the city and try to enjoy in so many different ways, try to enjoy his senses. And whenever he does this, he abandons his intelligence, and then after going and enjoying sufficiently, when he comes back, there's always this reunion where he always promises his intelligence, "I'll never do this again, you're my everything, all I need is you." So this was a very powerful lesson that I got from this, reading it again, where it's talking about the sense gratification is ultimately neglecting your intelligence, which is ultimately supposed to be governing the activities of the senses. But whenever these are neglected, this is considered to be sense gratification. Of course, you can become engaged in sensory activities under the guidance of mundane intelligence, but the real nature of intelligence, the real nature of knowledge, is understanding that one is a servant of Krishna. And then upon acting in that state of intelligence, then one's senses are used in the service of Krishna, which is famously taught by King Ambarish, Savaya Manak Krishna Padara Vindayo, that one should focus the mind on Krishna's lotus feet. He should engage the legs in walking to the temple, and the nose and smelling the aroma of the tulasi leaves offered to Krishna, etc., etc., etc. So this is the spiritual aspect of the city of 9 gates, which is supposed to be used in the service of Krishna. And if you read that section, then you'll, because Puranjana he was not residing in this city with proper consciousness. Ultimately, he was attacked by the Chandavega, the Gandharva army, who represents the days of the year. And each 360 of them were attacking, and then, anyways, there's so many allegories that are there. But specifically in regard to this vision, the eyes, seeing, this is a very important sense, because, I mean, we take it for granted, but without seeing, it'd be really, really difficult to like function in society. And they've created so many different ways where blind people can function. They have like Braille and like seeing eye dogs and everything like that. But still, it's just like a very low quality of life. And there are certain species which have like they don't have eyes, but they have some sense of like sight. Like the plants even, they can see in the sense that they know where the sun is and they grow towards the sun. Prabhupada said that this is a manifestation of the soul, and we can understand that the trees have consciousness because they're always going towards the sun. And this is because of their sense of sight. So actually all the conditioned living entities in this world have this desire to see, have the desire to see all the different manifestations of variety in this world, to see themselves, which is a big thing for a lot of people, how people see them. It's a huge thing, and especially whenever like young people are going through like puberty. I remember it was such a huge thing where like appearances, like, you know, you have to wear the right things, you have to like put your hair in the right way, and it's all about like how you look to everybody else, and also how you look to yourself. You have to be like happy with how you look, and for this reason there's so many different bodily modifications that people make. Maybe not at that age, but later on they might get like breast implants and nose jobs and everything like that. Botox. We were joking in India, everything's so cheap there. We were joking about getting like facelifts and everything while we're there, just for the heck of it. It's so cheap. And on the way back, we were going through Istanbul, and we saw like so many of these bald guys with like fresh hair implants. There's like all like red, and like it looked so painful. And in this note, I actually had a very, very powerful experience in regard to the sense of vision when we were there in India. And it's not what you're thinking. I went in front of Vishnupad or something and had some ecstatic like thing. I got the LASIK procedure, and it was one of the most powerful Krishna conscious experiences that I've ever had in my life. So Matysa-Prabhu got it done first, and then as he was leaving the surgical room, I was going in, and he told me while I was going in, he was like, you're about to be the most Krishna conscious you've ever been in your life. And I was like, wait, what? And they were kind of like pushing me in, and I wanted to ask him what he meant by that, because I was already scared like anything, and then that freaked me out even more. And then you go in there, and then it's crazy. There's like 6 or 8 people surrounding this operation table. They tell you to lay down on it, and then immediately they cover your whole body with a big heavy blanket. They cover your whole body, and then they just get right into it. They say, okay, open your eyes, and then all of a sudden somebody slaps something onto your open eyeball, and then they peel something, and then next thing you know, you're laying there, your whole body is covered, and they put this like paper that covers everything except for this little hole where your eye is. And in such a state, it literally feels like you have become your eyeball. It's like all of your other senses have been depressed. Like you're not thinking about like if the blanket's soft, you're not thinking about what you're really hearing. All you can think about is this eyeball. Everything else is completely like covered. And of course, from their vision, you are just an eyeball. They're not seeing anything else. They're just seeing a paper and a blanket and a little eyeball, which they're going to do some operation on. And it's a really like, me and Matysa-Prabhu had the same kind of like experience where we really felt like we became our eyeball at that point in time, where your whole entire consciousness is present right there in just one eyeball. You have 2 of them, but just right then, all you care about is that one eyeball. And it's kind of likened to like this city of 9 gates where if one of the gates is under attack, you put all of the soldiers there to protect it, from infiltration and everything like that. So similarly, at that point in time, it was like my whole consciousness was in my eyeball, and like everything that existed had to do with what I was seeing. And that was just my consciousness at that point in time. And then, throughout the procedure, they're doing so many different things. Your eyeball is clamped open. You can't blink or anything. They're also telling you not to move your eye around or anything, and you're freaking out. And at one point in the procedure, they say, okay, you're going to feel some pressure, and then you're not going to be able to see anything. So then they do something. They press something on there. And you know that feeling when you press your eye really hard and your vision kind of goes away for a little while? It was like that, except it went away for like way too long. And I was like kind of freaking out because keep in mind, I am my eyeball at that point. And if I can't see, then what's the point of existence is kind of like what I'm feeling. And of course, there's already anxiety of like, am I going to go blind from having this procedure done, and it's already there. And like, you're kind of thinking like, is this supposed to happen? And everything like that. So in such a state of consciousness, you really have to take shelter of like Krishna. You can't see anything, this is all that matters to you, but at the same time, you can't experience it anymore, and it's like that sense has been forcibly taken away from you. And in such a state, there's nothing except for your consciousness, your mind, your intelligence, your false ego, like that. And luckily, because we were in India and the doctor was like some level, some kind of devotee, he was talking about Krishna throughout the whole thing, and which I was very thankful for, because in that state it was like, instead of seeing like the lasers and the people around me and everything like that, I kind of like could like just relax and picture a form of Krishna. I was specifically remembering the form of Nrsimhadev, the Ugra Nrsimha in Mayapur, right then and there. It just kind of like entered my consciousness at that point in time, and I felt very like, I felt safer. I still was really, really scared. But anyways, that's kind of a recent experience that I had where I literally felt like I was that, and this false identification with the body is like the whole problem in material existence. And we only experience it at times whenever the senses are forcibly being taken away from us. We only experience how much attachment we have to our senses whenever we can't use them. And you were talking about how Guru Maharaj was experiencing this paralysis in like his arm or something like that, and realizing at that point in time how valuable the arm is and how much dependence he has upon the arm and different things like that. So similarly with the different senses, we take it for granted until we're not able to really enjoy our senses anymore, and then we lament like anything. And this is the process of old age and disease. And in this way, Prabhupada describes how, as the age progresses, the senses become more fuzzy. You won't be able to experience quite the variety of enjoyment that you were previously. And in this way, you lament like anything. And because you're desiring to have these senses which can enjoy, naturally you're given another body in the next life with senses where you can enjoy like that, where you continue to enjoy. So it's a very dangerous situation that we're in. Because if we are in this state of consciousness at the time of death, then immediately after death, our subtle body starts to, actually before death even, our subtle body is already creating another body, another gross body which we can reside in. And naturally after we leave one body, the subtle body carries us into another suitable body in the womb of another woman, and whether in a human form or in another form. And so in this way we're trying to enjoy like how Krishna is trying to enjoy, or how Krishna is actually enjoying. We're trying to imitate him like this. So whenever Krishna, the Supreme Purusha, desired to see himself in all that was created, then the eyes and the illuminating sun god and the power of vision and the object of sight all became manifested. So all of these things actually became manifested because of Krishna's Ichha Shakti, his desire of enjoyment. And all of these were created, and all of these became manifested to facilitate the enjoyment of Krishna. And also, unfortunately, the conditioned living entities decided to use these for their own enjoyment, or to attempt to use these for their own enjoyment. And but actually we see here that originally All of these things were created solely and wholly for the purpose of Krishna's enjoyment. So the process of Krishna consciousness is the transference of trying to use these things for our own enjoyment to engaging them in the service of Krishna, to engage them in the facilitating the enjoyment of Krishna. So this is this is just a recent experience that I had in this regard. On a more philosophical note, going back into the duality of light and dark, light is generally generally represents knowledge. We have different words like illuminating. Of course, illuminating can mean when you turn on a light switch, but it also, you can say, "Oh, Prabhu, thank you for the lecture. It was so illuminating," like that, and also enlightening. Different words like this. When things are very clear, that means that the knowledge is very easy to understand. Things are very clear, meaning that light can easily pass through it. This is kind of where it's coming from. And the idea is that whenever there is sufficient light, then one is able to gather enough knowledge in such a way where he can see things as they are, at least in an illusory sense in the material world. Whenever there is light, we can see, the different varieties. We can see space and, all the the matter which is there. And then using the power of eyesight along with the help of light and the objects of seeing and everything like that, we gather so much knowledge in this world. And in this way, we give a lot of importance to knowledge which is acquired through seeing. And this is kind of the empirical process of scientific process or whatever, this empirical process where observation is given more precedence than descending knowledge from hearing like that. So this observation, it can only be possible whenever there is light. So actually all of the different so-called scientific knowledge that's present in this world is only existing because of the mercy of Krishna, who has given us the light. Yet still, they're not even asking the question. They're not even giving any importance to where this is even coming from. How are we even able to observe? Instead of thinking how are we able to observe, they're always just thinking about what they're observing. And this self-centered concept of bodily existence is actually the cause of so much ignorance in the name of knowledge. And this is propagated in so many different ways. Of course, you have the atheistic schools, which propagate so much scientific knowledge based on seeing and directly observing with the senses. And also you have very materialistic so-called religious doctrines, which give more importance to sensory understanding of God than to hearing with oral reception. But of course, in the Vedic version, more precedence is given to this hearing, because Krishna is ultimately adhokshaja. He's not. You can't observe him with mundane senses, and certainly you can't see him with these present eyes, which are just kind of like machines. We were going to all these different eye doctors, and they have the posters on the walls which kind of break down the different parts of the eyes, and you actually see that the eye is actually just a lens, and then you have the retina, which is kind of like that thing on the camera which gets bigger and smaller, or I guess the iris, yeah, something like that. There's so many different parts, moving parts of this machine, and then from that, then there's electrical impulses which go into the brain, and then the brain sorts out these different signals, and it's actually very similar to like a digital machine, which is comprised of ones and zeros, and then that sorts out, and then you have some image on a computer. Same thing as a camera. Actually, the eyeball is very, very similar to like a camera. And of course, this is reaffirmed in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that the body is like a machine, yantra rudhani mayaya, a machine made of the material energy. And but this is not understood by mundane scientists, and it's also not understood by materialistic people who are trying to approach the subject of God, where they are thinking that if God is real, why can't we see him? You're saying that God has a form, you're saying that God looks like this, you're saying that God does this, and he's present here, and he does this and that. But they say, if I can't see him, then I'm not going to believe it. There's a common saying, seeing is believing. But it's kind of like the philosophy of someone who wants to see the sun after the sun has set. there's no possible way that they can actually see the sun until the sun has risen on its own accord. So similarly, for one who wants to see God, all endeavors to see God from their own endeavor are ultimately foiled unless the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveals himself, just like the rising sun. No matter how much we desire, no matter how much we pray, no matter how much we really wish to see the sun at the time when the sun is not meant to rise, it just won't happen. So similarly, for spiritual realization of the Supreme or of Krishna, we have to rely on Krishna to rise in our heart, similarly, just like the sun. And so this is and of course, we can understand in other ways too, this drig drishya vichar, that ultimately we're not meant to see God, we're meant to be objects of vision of God. And with this consciousness, one can become a very pure servant of the Lord. Anyways, that's a whole other subject matter. Also, the light being a representation of knowledge, we can also understand that the path of jnana in trying to understand the nature of the Supreme is kind of like increasing the light. Did I just mess it up? No, the more knowledge that we gather and the more enlightened that we become, the idea is that the more we will be able to understand the nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth, we will be able to understand the dualities of the material world, we will be able to understand the nature of the spiritual energy like that. And this is called the path of jnana, or of knowledge. But we see that generally what happens when one takes to this path of knowledge is that they become deluded by so much knowledge. And it's kind of like, I think Avadut was just experiencing when he was sitting in the sunlight, and he was trying to focus his vision on one thing, the speaker of Bhagavatam, but because the light is just so much, he can't even see that. So in this way, too much light is also a cause of ignorance. And for that reason, he had to move, and like that. So there's this. Of course, being blind, we think that for a blind person, everything is just darkness. But there's also a kind of blindness where everything is just light, and they can't see anything because they're blinded by the light. There's another like phrase, another common saying, blinded by the light. And there's this prayer in the Ishopanishad. Krishna, please remove Hiranmayena Patrena. What is it? Satyasya Pahita. What is it? Pahitam Mukham. Anyways, the effulgent face of Krishna is so bright that the devotee prays to him, saying, Krishna, kindly remove this dazzling effulgence, which is like a veil covering you. The Brahma Jyoti is like a veil covering the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So a devotee, he doesn't give so much precedence to the path of jnana, knowing that actually there is no level of knowledge that we can come to whereby we can really understand Krishna in his original and supreme form, as being the cowherd boy in Vrindavan, having the bluish form like this Shyama Sundar Tribhanga, like that. This can't be seen through the path of jnana. And in fact, for those who take shelter of this path alone and neglect the path of service to the Supreme, they are ultimately deluded by so much light, so much of this this effulgence coming from the Supreme. So in this way, too much light is also not wanted, and so we wear sunglasses. It's like, it's very easy to understand. Krishna is compared to the sun and is compared to light in so many different ways. The very, very famous verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya, Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Adhikar, that Krishna is compared to the sun and Maya is compared to darkness, and wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be darkness. Wherever there is the sun, there cannot be darkness. Wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be Maya.
Godhead is light, nations is darkness.
Yeah, that was on the Back to Godhead. Yeah, so this is a very basic philosophical point, which is echoed all throughout Srila Prabhupada's books. It's found in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But also so many other examples are given of Krishna being likened to the sun. And factually, the sun in this material world is called Raja Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha. Is the king of all of the planets. And actually it's providing everything. And it seems like everything is happening automatically, but we can understand that literally all of our sustenance is happening because of the sun. The sun is evaporating the water, which then goes up as being a cloud, and then from the clouds it's actually said that souls are rained down, and then they become seeds, and the grains grow, and then they're harvested, and then all of this is actually becoming possible by the energy of the sun. And this is giving sustenance to all of the different living entities in the world. This is the compassion of Krishna. In this way, the sun is compared to like a parivrajaka acharya, where it's traveling all over the universe. Sometimes we hear that the sun is situated in one place, but also we hear in Puranic understanding that the sun is carried on a chariot and is moving all throughout the universe, and it's giving light and energy to the whole universe, except for the very impious subterranean levels of the universe, where the sunlight does not actually reach there. But for those who are pious enough to receive the benediction of having sunlight, life becomes very comfortable. And in places in this planet that don't, they have like 6 months of sun and then 6 months of darkness. Their mental equilibrium is all jacked up. Their food is really bad. They ultimately have to take shelter of eating fish and everything like that. Whales and all that, and so we can understand the great importance of the sun, not only in how it's illuminating everything to where we can see, but it's also actually giving us it's giving us the ability to eat. It's giving us the ability to function in so many different ways. I got some digestion thing in India, and then our godbrother, he gave me some medicine, and he also recommended me to go and every morning just be out in the sun. And in the morning sun, he said that will increase the fire of digestion and everything like that. So also the fire, the sun is presiding over the digestion of the body like that too. And Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, I think, that one can worship the sun god for health, like that. He didn't recommend it, but he says that people worship the sun for health purposes like that. He also writes in Bhagavad Gita that the morning sun is very nice and it's very nourishing for the body. The afternoon sun is actually draining and it takes away the energy of the body. Yeah. We have experience of that. But so like this, the sun is compared to the Supreme Lord in so many different ways. There's a very common, there's another famous analogy which is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is saying that the Supreme Lord is like the sun. He's present for everyone to see. He's showering his dazzling light rays all over the whole universe without any discrimination, whether or not this place needs it or not, whether or not, he shines it on the rocks, he also shines it on the plants, he shines it on the water like that. And but for one who is like an owl, who is neglecting to open his eyes and actually see the sun, the Supreme Lord will never actually manifest himself. It's kind of like a two-way street. One has to be open to understanding Krishna, serving Krishna like that, for Krishna to reveal himself to him. Actually, Krishna is revealing himself to everyone at all times. Krishna is everywhere. He's also not everywhere. What is Mayatatamidam sarvam jagaravyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. And so a devotee of the Lord can actually see Krishna everywhere. He's specifically reminded of Krishna in things like the sun, and in that how we're talking about the sun is responsible for maintaining us in so many different ways. He's very merciful for traveling all over. But a pure devotee, it's not that when the sun goes down, the pure devotee forgets about Krishna and then it's just immediately in Maya. The pure devotee can see Krishna in everything. But specifically, Krishna, for materialistic people, he's manifest in so many different ways. He's also manifest as the sun. And there's a series, like 9 lectures or something in Arka. 13 lectures on Arka, where there's a name in the Vishnu Sahasranam. Arka, meaning the sun, is also a name for Vishnu. And of course you have...
That's also the name of a trucking company.
Trucking company. Punjabi trucking company is also the name of Vivek's son, right?
Yeah.
And but it's ultimately the name of Krishna. Krishna being manifest in this material world through the agency of the sun. And the Surya Narayana. I think we went to a temple, Surya Narayana.
Yeah.
In Puri.
Near Kurukshetra.
Yeah, they went. I didn't get a chance to go. I was sick.
It was near Kurukshetra.
But yeah, so this form of Krishna is still worshipped today. Devotees offer their obeisances to Krishna in the form of the sun every single day for giving them the ability to function in this world, to go on with their service. Because without the sun, it would be very, very difficult. Also, Ajnana Timirandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Guru is said that being born in the darkness of ignorance, the spiritual master opens one's eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, this light, the sun, the Guru being the carrier of Krishna, who is represented through light, who is represented through the sun. Also we have, what is that? That prayer,
What's the translation?
Gornitai, they simultaneously rise. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahurito, Godore Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonado. Pushpavanto, it sounds like something to do with flowers, but it's talking about the simultaneous rising of the sun and the moon, which is a very specific thing, which is described in one Sanskrit word. But anyways, Pushpavanto. The sun and the moon of Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu simultaneously have arisen on the eastern horizon of Gaudadesh and have thus spread their beautiful rays all over the world. So we can meditate upon Krishna like this. So many different ways that we can think of Krishna, and we can appreciate Krishna for giving us the ability to see, for giving us the ability to become enlightened with knowledge. And all of this is because Krishna had the desire to see, the desire to ultimately be merciful upon the conditioned souls in this world. Without Krishna in this world, it would be nothing. We would just be banished from the spiritual world, and we would have nothing to do. We would just be there. And it's like what do they call that? Whenever not euthanasia, but like when they put them to sleep temporarily. Whenever an animal is like, what is that? Tranquilize. It's like whenever an animal is being really bad, or like if a tiger escapes from the zoo or something, it's killing kids and everything like that. They don't kill it, but they tranquilize it. So it's like whenever we start causing problems in the spiritual world, we're tranquilized. We're removed from that situation, and then we enter the body of Mahavishnu, and then very mercifully Krishna gives us an opportunity to go and be a rascal somewhere away from his eternal dham, so that we don't cause problems for him and all the other devotees there. We can come and we can duke it out among ourselves here. Before then, there was you couldn't see any of these things. Krishna's talking about experiencing the other senses, but before the power of sight was there, and you couldn't see any of these things. And then, of course, more comes about. This is a slightly different version than what the book of Genesis gives, where it said in the beginning God said, "Let there be light." Actually, the interesting thing that I used to be really into whenever I was into like mantra yoga and everything like that is that it's not in the beginning there was light. It said in the beginning God said, "Let there be light." So then in this way you can understand that before there was light there was sound, and the mantra like that, and of course I was thinking that everything is coming from Om, like that, but it's true, but of course in the beginning God said, and God said, "Let there be light." So there must have been sound before there was light. Anyways, philosophical thing that not many people think about with the book of Genesis. It's a different order. Sight is coming later on. At first there was the more gross things, the taste and the smell, and later on you have the sight. But it's a different order there. I don't know why. So I think, it's 9 o'clock already. Sorry. If there's any questions about this, we can take them. If not, yes.
There's also this famous shloka. It's from the Upanishads for sure. Hare Krishna. Okay. Asato ma sadgamaya tamoso ma. You know this one? Asato ma sadgamaya tamoso ma jyotirgamaya mrityo ma amritam gamaya. You know this one?
I think so.
Like it's a Prabhupada definitely quotes it in his books.
Yeah, yeah.
And that,
Well,
asatoma,
he quotes that one part, tamasi ma
yeah,
jyotirgamaya.
Jyotirgamaya.
A lot. He quotes that
Yeah.
a lot.
That you forget, you like give up the temporary and focus on the eternal. Asatoma sadgamaya. Take the path of the eternal, give up the temporary. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. Leave ignorance and come to jyotir. That's why if you look over here, there's this word in this. Go back, I think. Yeah, go to the next. Okay, jyotish. That also means, light. It also means knowledge. And Jyotish, Shastra, astrology also, Shyamsundar Prabhu told me, is the eye of scripture.
It's interesting.
Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya.
Yeah, and then
Mrityoma Amritam Gamaya. Therefore,
Harikesh Maharaj's version is Mandira Ma.
Mandira Magama.
What is it?
Anyway, that's what it is.
Get out of the temple, get on the streets.
Yeah, that's how we're. Anyway. So, Mrityoma Amritam Gamaya, that you give up the that world of death, and you take the path of eternity. That's very, important, and it's nice. One thing though, one correction, is that things are not very cheap in India, they're very expensive in America. If you think of it like that, then we'll be very conscious of Krishna's money. Otherwise, we will be very unconscious of Krishna money.
Yeah, it's really.
And please don't mind me saying that is the American disease. Hare Krishna.
Sorry. And then I meant to make this point in the section of the class about light being knowledge. The Srimad Bhagavatam is that light, as brilliant as the sun. It's actually called Puranarka. Puranarko Dhuno. Yeah.
It's the sun among the Purana.
Yeah. So anyways.
Prabhu, just to clarify, this process of creation that's being described now is the formation of the Mahatattva, or is this separate?
No, so yeah, Mahatattva was there before the. I don't know all the technicalities. Mahatattva is the sum total of all the material energy. This is how the Mahatattva becomes manifest in all varieties that we experience in this world.
Secondary creation.
Secondary.
That's what the Bhagavatam title is.
Okay.
Yeah, what is it?
What's the name
Sarga, Dvitiya Sarga or something?
The name of the Bhagavatam, what is it? On the cover.
It's not on the cover.
Creation.
Secondary
And so after that, then Brahma starts.
The cosmic manifestation.
And then
That's what it's
after that, then Brahma starts his process, or this is Brahma. So if this is Brahma's process, then when it says like the Lord desired to see, then there was light. He's using like Brahma as an instrument for that desire.
Well, Lord Brahma creates all of the different varieties in this world. But Lord Brahma sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu before there was anything in the universe. So in that way, Vishnu was not directly creating any of the variety in this world, but it was from his Ichha Shakti, the desire to have variety in this world, that was manifest through Brahma. And you'll see that whenever Brahma was there was nothing, there was just darkness, and then from the nothingness he hears the.
So then the Kriya
flute of
Shakti,
Krishna.
like the creation energy, is Brahma representative of that?
Brahma is acting through, he's empowered by that. He's empowered by
Kriya
that.
Empowered actually by the Jnana Shakti. There's Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So there's the will of Krishna, and then
Ichha.
Sankarshan is in charge of the knowledge potency. And then from that comes the Kriya Shakti.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Mata, do you have anything? Okay.
Iman Mataji is raising
Oh, sorry.
You made a good point about how no matter how much we pray, wish, or hope, Krishna won't be revealed to us, but he reveals himself on his own accord, and we are meant to be seen by God, not to see him. And then, of course, everyone went on a pilgrimage to India, so y'all got to see all these different places, of course, where Krishna has manifested himself. So my question is, What should be the mood when installing deities, and why are so many temples why is the temple in itself special if Krishna reveals himself in other ways to the mundaners?
Yeah, so Prabhupada tells us that the whole purpose of having deities is to facilitate the Sankirtan movement. We were asked a very interesting question by Shyamkund Prabhu in Bhopal. We were talking, they're going to be installing deities for Janmashtami, and we were kind of saying that, always remember that this is for Sankirtan, this is for book distribution, like this, like that. And then he asked, if this is all for Sankirtan, and this is ultimately for the expansion of book distribution and everything like that, then why do we have to take out so many of our brahmacharis to be pujaris instead of being book distributors? And that kind of like puzzled me. It's like, oh yeah, that is a good question. But ultimately that's the mood is the whole point of having the deity in the temple is to inspire the devotees and to give life to the devotees, and in order that they will feel enlivened and inspired to distribute books and to perform Sankirtan. This is the whole purpose of it. Those people who visit the temple and appreciate the deity, and they come and they might do some service at the temple for the deity and everything like that, but neglect the higher principles of performing Sankirtan. They're to be considered neophyte, kanishta adhikaris, who are also given an opportunity to come and do some service at the level that they're at. But for devotees who have surrendered their life to Krishna, who are living in the temple, who are fully plugged into that, it's expected that they're not just worshiping the deity in some ritualistic way just because that's what they're supposed to do. Of course, that's better than not worshiping the deity at all, but the consciousness should be there that this is for expanding Sankirtan. And you'll see many temples in India that the temple is there, but there's no Sankirtan going on there. And because of that, there's kind of something lacking. It's almost like the deity that is there is like the ghost of what once was there, almost is like the feeling that you get. Of course, a pure devotee is able to see Krishna everywhere, but specifically, the devotee is attracted to the Archa Vigraha form of Krishna because it's so beautiful, and it represents it's not only representing the beautiful form of Krishna, but the devotee sees it as being directly the form of Krishna, non-different to the form of Krishna. Pure devotee can see Krishna in the rock, and he can see Krishna in the sky and in the clouds and in the sun and everything like that. But specifically because the deity form in the temple is directly Krishna, is non-different from him, exactly looking just like him, it's very dear to the devotee. And because of that, our acharyas never neglected to establish temples, never neglected to install deities like that. Even if it creates some difficulty, like they're experiencing in Bhopal, where they're having to take book distributors out of the field to install the deities there. It's for a higher purpose, and there's a greater vision which is seen there. They have a big vision. What is this? I should read it? Oh, okay. This is an email sent out by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj and his disciple email list. This is a quote from Srila Prabhupada's lecture on the Rukmini Dwarkanath deity installation in Los Angeles. That is the difference between idol worship and deity worship. If there is no life, then it is idol worship, hedonism. And when there is life, feeling, where is Krishna? Here is Krishna. Oh, I have to serve Krishna. I have to dress him. I have to serve Radharani. She is here. Oh, I must do it very nicely. And as far as possible, decorate her to the best capacity. In this way, if you always feel Krishna conscious, then you are fire. I don't know then you are fire. Maybe fine. The same example, keeping with the fire. Oh, then you are fire. The same example, keeping with the fire. And if you think it is a brass-made doll, I mean to say idol, if you think that this is a brass-made idol, then it will remain a brass-made idol to you forever. But if you elevate yourself to a higher platform of Krishna consciousness, then this Krishna will talk with you. This Krishna will talk with you. So yeah. Is that okay? There's a big thing nowadays. I don't know if it's a new thing, but we were seeing it for the first time of people walking around with deities of, Laddu Gopal, just like walking around with them. Some lady had one on our flight from Istanbul, or maybe to Istanbul or something. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's weird. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.